So we are learning Kuzari. Everybody knows the story of Kuzari. There's a king and he has a dream. And this story was written 1,000 years ago, based on a true story that happened 1,400 years ago in Kuzar, which is a kingdom next to Russia. And this king had a dream, and in his dream he was told by God, your actions are your intentions are wanted, your actions are not wanted. Why? Because this king had a desire for serving God. So he started doing sacrifices. And this is very nice because he had a passion. And then the angel comes to him over and over and says, your actions are not wanted, your intentions are wanted. I'm happy you're searching, but go find out for real. What are the actions that I truly want? Now, this book was written 1,000 years ago in the darkest time of our exile. Because if you could say, let's say 1,000 years was like the night, 1,000 years is the day. So in the darkest part of the night is right before it becomes day. So at the darkest time of the Jewish history, two great rabbis came out and gave us the ability to keep going. One was the Rambam. He wrote a book called Moreh Nevuchim, a guide to the perplexed. The second one is Yehuda Levi in the book Kuzari. Now just think about this message. Here we are, we're in exile, we're already 1,000 years, we're not in Israel, we're scattered around the world. Suddenly this book comes out. I know you're drowning, but take your head out of the water. And remember, the mission of the Jewish people is a nation that's a light unto the nations. Kings are coming to us, nations are coming and saying, how do we serve God? How do I find this path of serving God? That's the passion. That's who we are. Remember who you are. Remember your mission. I know you're drowning, but take your head out of the water. Remember who we are. Think about the context. Unbelievable. And who is this king? A king is usually cares about two things: security, financial things, and how to run his country. And why is this king thinking, how do I serve God? And he's sacrificing. He's putting out all this effort. That's us. That's who we are. That's what our mission is. This is us, that king. But in the story, it's a king. So the king and the two books that were written at that time, the Rambam and the Moreh Nevuchim, one is talking to the intellect. One is outreach, what we call, the Rambam was talking to the Jews that were already far, far gone, involved in philosophy, and he's doing outreach. The Kuzari, Rabbi Yehuda Levi, is talking inreach, to understand who you are, understand what it's about, going in, talking to the people, convincing the convinced. You could also say that the styles of the Rambam and the Moreh Nevuchim is a style of intellectual, what we call like sechel, intellect, which is the Rambam, and the regesh, the emotional aspect, is the Kuzari. Similar to the last 100 years, there was the Gaon of Vilna, and then there was the Chassidut. And this story is talking about a dream. What's a dream? Is that a dream is a real thing? A dream is explain it to me. Like, how do I understand intellectually what a dream is? So this is not a book. You're coming here to have a, how do you say, intellectually understand things. You're talking to the soul. This is talking to the heart. This is talking to the depth, and of course there's deep understanding, but we'll go on and explain. So at first, the king, he figured there's 3 religions out there. He thought there's 4 maybe. He didn't really, but his mistake was that the Jews are not really a religion, and we'll explain that in the future. But so he thought that there's 3 religions. There's the philosophers. Philosophers are people that ask questions about creation. Why are we here? Who created the world? What's our moral purposes? That's philosophy. The philosophy are asking deep, important questions. Philosophers take themselves a step out and they ask themselves the big questions of purpose of creation, of existence, morality. That's what philosophy is. So first he calls the philosopher. And the philosopher basically explains to him, God doesn't care about you. God doesn't see you. God doesn't hear your prayers. God's not interested in you. God's too big to be involved in your little details. God's up there somewhere. God always existed. The world always existed through a symbiosis process of, the evolution. Things evolved. Everything always existed. God always exists. The world always exists. And there's two tracks and they're not involved in one another. And religion is a good thing as long as it serves the purpose of helping your intellectual development. That's the purpose of creation. Advancing your knowledge to a high level of intellectual understanding where your thoughts create reality. And even if you die, you continue because your thoughts continue. It's a deep philosophy, but God's not interested in you. Religion, if you want to invent a religion, you can invent any religion as long as it helps. It's like people that are addicted to all kinds of, addictions. There's a 12-step solution. It helps you to believe in a higher power. That's one of the 12 things. Believe in a higher power, because the people that believe in a higher power, it gives them strength and it helps you to work on things in life. So make up a religion. The king says, yeah, but that's what I did. I made up a religion. I went and started sacrificing, and I was told by the dream that God doesn't want this. You never had a dream. Your dream is you're imagining. The king says, I don't understand. You're saying religion is just like nonsense, and you can invent a religion, but I see the people that the humanity. If you look at humanity today, 2 billion Christians, 1.5 billion Muslims, these people are willing to kill each other because they believe this is the act that God wants. And they believe this is the right thing. And if I do it, I get rewarded. And this is the action, like I'm asking, like the dream said. This is what the world is. This is you're denying a fact of existence of nature, that people they feel that this is the right action and they're willing to die for it, they're willing to kill for it, they're willing to, and this is obviously, it's not just, you're just saying that's worthless, like you can believe in any religion, fine, you want to be this, you want to be that, go ahead. But people are very serious and passionate about their belief. So obviously you don't have the answer for me. And he goes to the Christian. And the Christian tells him, God created the world. God, he connects with people. Everything that happened from Adam, Noah, everything that happened in the Bible and the Torah is true. But then something happened. Everything that happened to the Jews is true. But then God decided it's time to become human. He made a woman pregnant without her being pregnant, gave birth to a baby that externally looks like a human, but internally it's God. Externally it looks like a prophet, but internally it's really God. And it's the Father, it's the Son, it's the Holy Ghost, and they're all one, and we really believe in one God. But like, whoa. So you're telling me that the condition for me to become connected to God is to erase my brain, like erase my common sense. I can't understand how a woman could give birth without a man, and how could God be a person, and how could this is completely makes no sense. And because this one guy, he said he was God, so he's God, or that's like, and I can't even believe that God actually talks to people. God communicates with people. Why should God communicate with people? I can't grasp this. I see that whatever you're telling me does not do it. So then, now here we are. This is where we left our class off. Okay, so I have to call the Muslim. He calls in the Muslim and he says, Sha'al oto al chokhmato v'al ma'aseo. Tell me about your wisdom Tell me about your actions. Okay? Now remember, even though the Rambam says, even though Christianity and Islam were, basically very come from idol worshiping, but they brought down the word of God. The whole world has been affected by the Tanakh through these religions as well. Like we said, the Christians started off incredible things. Everything he said in the beginning was wow, right? He said, we believe that God created the world, and God always existed, and God created the world in 6 days, and everyone that comes from this world is from Adam and from Noah, and God is watching the world, and he's connected to the people and he's angry if you do the wrong thing, and he gives you a reward if you do the right thing, and he dwells within, his people. And everything that's written in the Torah that happened to the Jewish people is all true. There's no doubts about it. It was famous. It's something that repeated itself over and over and over again. And huge masses of people saw this. But then God became a person and blah, 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 all the garbage. Like the chromosomes between a chimpanzee and a person are 99% the same. That 1% is what makes all the difference. So Christianity started off very nice. And even the first Christians, they say they believed in God. There was mitzvahs. Who knows? They threw everything out in the end. But now we're not at the Christian, we're at the Muslim. So he says, go ahead. Tell me about your wisdom, the Muslim. Again, we believe that God always existed. God is one, and God always existed, and He created the world. And everyone comes from Adam and from Noach, v'narchik hagashmut bichlal, and we will have nothing to do with turning God into a person, into a materialistic being. We are completely against, and this is a step forward from Christianity, that God, the Creator, there's a guy created, He's the Creator. We say no, there's there's a Creator and there's the created. They say no, the Creator is a created person is the Creator. So that's what we call idol worshiping. So the Muslim says, so we believe that God always existed, and He created the world from nothing. There was zero, there was nothing, didn't exist. And then God decided to create the world, which is very important. Like we said, the philosophers, there's no such a thing as the Big Bang Theory. There's no such a thing as, at least we're talking philosophy, Aristotle. There's no such a thing as the world was created. The world always existed, and God always existed. Okay? And we will narchik hagashmiut b'cha. We will have nothing to do with God being a person. Okay? So we are very against Christianity. By the way, they call Christianity, idol worshiping, and the people that are, and they're very against Christians. They won't eat. They don't eat pig, and there must be shchita. They have a certain kind of shchita, and they won't use the shchita of the how do you say shchita? The butchering from a Christian butcher. That's part of the halal, is that they don't believe in, and it must be shechted, but they have no problem with Jews shechting. And they even do a circumcision. They're willing to have a Jewish moel do it for them, the circumcision, but they will not have a Christian. They do also circumcision, because Yishmael did it at 13 years old, right. Age 13.
So they do it at 13 years.
I don't know. Again, I don't know too many details. Okay. So, what's the big problem with? Until here, everything sounds good.
Okay.
What's the big problem with? We'll get there in a minute. What's the problem? Because theoretically, there's no idol worshiping, and it looks okay. But wait, we'll get there. If you hear anything in our language where we speak about God, like God sat on a chair or whatever, it's only a way to explain something. It's only like a parable right? In other words, basically the Quran is like the Tanakh for the Arabs. It's like the Bible for the Arabs. Okay. Im hodatenu ki sefer totenu v'elahim. So our Torah, our Bible, our Quran is the Word of God, and it's a wonder. It's a miracle. And we have hitchayavnu b'kibulo ba'avur atzmo mipnei she'en adam. And that book is, now he starts going wild about this book, the Quran. Nobody could ever have written a book like this. Not even one sentence. Everything is godly, and everything is a wonder. It's unbelievable. Now, by the way, if you want to really embarrass a Muslim, there's a document where you have the Quran on one side. On the other side, you have everywhere it was stolen from our literature, and how it was warped and stolen. And if you show this to an intellectual Muslim, he won't know what to do with himself. Because there's a document, it shows exactly everything, where it's stolen, where it was warped, which midrash, which Gemara, which thing, which Torah, which part of the Torah. But this is what he says. The book is so unbelievable and so incredible. Vision, and here's the big problem. Only God could have written it. Oh, here's where it gets problematic. And our prophet, Muhammad, he's the final prophet, and he erases the Torah that came before. So the Torah is now erased, is cancelled, and he's the last prophet, and everything before him is erased. So Islam is basically the nullification of Judaism and of Christianity, and it's the final conclusion, and you can't ever change it. Okay? So basically the Torah was like a mistake for a little while, and the Quran fixed it. Okay? And they say God basically never revealed himself on Mount Sinai, and they cancel out the Torah and the unity of the Jewish people.
So just because of their lack of intelligence, they raised the whole Torah and then warped it and made their own?
Muhammad came along, and basically he was a very passionate leader. He was not very intellectual,
so it seems
but
like
he was like a powerful leader. He had a very strong courage and bravery, and he was a big warrior, and he had he was always he had a lot of pride about his power towards women, right? He had many women, and he said, I had this revelation from God, not straight from God, but through an angel, Gabriel, who gave him the Quran, and that's, again, so basically, unfortunately, so that's where it becomes problematic, is that the Quran cancels everything out, all the prophets, everybody, and therefore, but therefore, again, in countries where the Jews were forced to convert to Islam, according to the Jewish law, you could actually convert you outwardly and do what you want in your house, because Islam was not Christianity. It's not as bad. There's no belief in God as a person, and the cross is like, you bow down to the cross. That's one of their things. The cross is like actually something you bow down to. But we're not going to go into the Christianity. We did that already. But so let's be going. So okay. So now, and there's reward. There's reward if you listen to him. Shavat tuchal Gan Eden. You will go. In other words, this is like what we call serving God for lolishma, for reward. And if you serve God, you will your body will go into Garden of Eden, your body. And there, ne'imot, you'll have the pleasant of eating and drinking and women. And any desire, physical desire you want, which is unbelievable. And you will be punished if you don't go in it. You'll be punished so badly that you will burn in fire that will never go out, and your suffering will never end. So there in Garden of Eden, there's food, there's women, there's physical things. So the Christians turn God into a physical thing. The Muslims turn themselves into physical things. In the next world, you are that's you are with your body, and you go and you do physical things in the next world with women, with food and pleasures. Unbelievable, right? All the women you want, you can have. What about women? Do they get the garden of? Do they get the next world? No, women don't. They don't matter. They have nothing. Oh, women could have food. They could have
Is that
food.
what it says?
Yeah.
That's so
Women are not people. Women are objects. You understand?
ridiculous.
In Islam, women are objects. They're objects for pleasure for men. That's it. Okay, and in hell, there is a fire, and anyone who goes, is a heretic will be burned forever. And the Quran is full of explanations and threats on hell. Okay, so that anyone who was thinking of going to Islam, welcome to. So basically, what's very interesting in this the idea of the Christian and the Muslim is that the Jewish people have two. Our main concepts are the book and the people. Came Christianity and focused on the person. Came Muslims and focused on the book, which is like judgment and, like we said, two extremes. All you need is love. A person, God is so close to you that he's actually a person you can say hi and pat him on the back, according to Christianity. And Islam, God is so far from you that, scary, dangerous, fear. So, okay, so he's listening. The king is listening, and he says, "Mi sherotzim liyasher oto b'dvar Elohim levar etzlo Elohim." So he says, he's like, I don't understand. I still can't. I can't understand this, right? Like, you're saying is interesting. God came and spoke to an angel came and spoke to this man. Everything that happened till Muhammad was true, right? Like God created the world and the Adam and Eve and everything happened in the Torah and the Jewish people, everything else. And then Muhammad had some kind of revelation that an angel came to him. Did anyone see it? Did anyone talk to him about it? What happened? I still can't believe, says the king, that God communicates with people. So now I'm supposed to believe that everything that happened is true, but now he had this revelation, and I also had an angel speak to me. Maybe I should invent, says the king. Maybe I should invent my own religion. I also had an angel told me, what's going on here, right? So the Muslim says, the Quran is this book that was given from the prophet to God, prophet of God, and God spoke in this book. He's like, and the book is so incredible. It's written that no human being could write it. I read the book, says the king. I think actually a person could write it. It wasn't so mind-blowing. And if it's meant for everybody, then why is it written in Arabic? Is it a universal book for everybody, but it's in Arabic and it's so incredible? You get excited about it, but I don't. I'm not an Arab and I don't read Arabic. And I read it. It doesn't really excite me. I don't get it. I can't accept that God speaks with people. That's the first thing that wasn't work for me. I understood the philosopher said God has nothing to do with you. Okay, but then I have a dream, so I don't get that. But I understood that God, I need to be convinced that God actually speaks to people, communicates with people. How could that be? The God, the creator of heaven and earth, spiritual, and we're physical beings, and God's a spiritual being. How does that connection happen? How does that happen? First, convince me that there's a concept that God speaks to man. And then, right, it will be hard for me to be convinced. But then, right, if you prove it to me, complete proof, then I'll have to accept it. But first, prove to me that God speaks to people, that happens. right? And like I said, if your Torah is so incredible, then why is it in Arabic, right? And why, like, I don't speak that language, right? And when someone read it to me, it didn't really do it. So he says, the Muslim was like a wise man says, yeah, but there was also miracles that happened, but that's not how what we base our, the Islamic prophets, they also did miracles that prove that there's a connection with God, but that's not our proof. Our proof is the book, and that's it. So the Kuzari says, En hadat nochal adoshish borech evraim. I'm sorry, I can't accept that God actually communicates with people. I can't accept that. And if God does, I would need three proofs. One, אם במופת שהפך בו טבע הדברים כדי שיוודע כי יוכל עליו מי שבאמת ברא הדברים מאין. I would need a miracle, right? If I would see water turning to land, or the opposite, this is godly. I would need a miracle that couldn't be done by anybody but the creator of the world. I would need to see something that would make me believe that the creator of the world, he created the world so he could do what he wants. That I could, because if God is the ruler of nature and the world, he's the only one who could do a miracle like this. Right? According to the philosopher that says God always was, and God can't change the world, right? I need to see a miracle. I need to see nature changing. First thing. Second thing. Second proof. If you want to give me proof that God speaks to people, proof number one, show me nature being changed. Proof number two I would need, that this would happen in front of masses of people. For me to be convinced, I need that like many people would see it, millions of people to see it, because otherwise, people, I don't know what kind of drug they had, or I don't know what kind of, the mental institution is full of people that saw all kinds of things. So, right, if someone comes and says, God revealed himself to me, the angel came to me, that's not proof. It could be a lie. Right? Like one of the big miracles that happened to the Jews in the desert, on a side note, was there was a miracle well, it was called the well of Miriam. A well walked with us. Everywhere we were, there was water. The Jews went 40 years in the desert and grew to 5 million people. 40 years in the desert, walking in the desert, with no food or water. And they expanded to the number of 5 million people. Right? 600,000 people left Egypt, I think. They expanded to the number of 5 million. Where did they get the amount of water to give water to so many people? So we say there was a miracle. And this miracle happened before millions of people, all the time, and everyone saw it. Third condition, if you want me to believe it, it has to be tested over and over and over. Okay? I need to that miracle has to repeat itself over and over and over again. Because a one-time miracle could be some kind of magic trick, or right? In other words, you have to have a healthy sense, be critical thinker. That's a healthy thing. That's a positive thing. Those are the three things I need. It should happen. It should be a clear miracle. It should happen before millions of people. And number three, it should repeat itself over and over again. Right? Something that happens over again to make sure it's not some kind of magic trick or something else. ולא שתקבלנה נפשות הדבר הגדול הזה שבעולם הוא מלאכים בשמיים וארץ הוא יכבד. I can't, הלוואי. I wish that I can believe it. But to believe that the creator of the world, who created the angels and the heavens and the earth, and the heavens and the skies, that whole connect of materialistic lowlifes like us, I can't accept that. And that not only that, you're trying to say that God will speak to you and actually listen to your requests or your prayers or what you're asking for. What do you answer to that? Says the king to the Muslim. Listen, our Quran, our Torah is full of stories of Moses. Everything you're asking for is what happened with Moses and the Jewish people. And there is no doubts in anyone's mind that what happened to Paro and that the sea was split and that he saved his loved ones and that he drowned the people he was angry about and that he gave them the man and when they needed meat, he brought them the slav, these birds, the quills, and he gave them food for 40 years in the desert, and he spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, and Joshua stopped the sun. Would that be a miracle? Look, it happened over and over again before many people. And he helped them overcome giants of men. There was giants living in Israel. And everything happened before him with the Mabul, with the flood, and with Sodom and Gomorrah. All these things are famous things. Everything that I told you just now are things that nobody could trick, nobody could fool, and it's not imagination. Okay? Now remember, the first question that the king had was, what is the action that God wants? Right? What are the actions that are meaningful, that are wanted in this world? I want to live in a world of meaning. Okay? And before he can get to that, he has to first understand this first question, which is, does God have a connection with the world? Is there such a thing as actions that are meaningful to God in God's eyes? Right? I need to know, did God really speak to people or not? So, let's see what happens. What is the answer? Kuzari, oh wait, so let me stop a second. I realize I have no choice. I have to ask the Jew. Why? Because you just now said everything that happened is true. Muhammad just came along and canceled everything out. The Christians said everything was true, and then Jesus came and canceled everything out. But if everything is true, then I got to go back to the source. I got to go back to understanding I'm still not convinced that God speaks to people, and the first people God spoke to was the Jewish people, and you guys all agree to that, so I got to bring them in. So very fast he got rid of the Muslim, and he comes to the Jew. I have to ask the Jew. They're the last. They're the remaining. How do you say? Leftovers of the Jewish people. Every religion, those two religions just said that there's a connection. That God has a connection with people. So I have no choice. I have to ask them, even though they are so scattered. They don't have a land. They don't have, they're not really like thriving but I have no choice. Everyone's pointing back to the source. Our root is the Jewish people. So I have no choice. Right? The Islam and Christian, they all base their religions on Judaism. They erased big parts of it, but it's the source.
One question. When the cloud moved, Miriam will also move.
Yeah. When the clouds moved, the Miriam's well moved with us. Along it says only when Miriam died, the well stopped. Yeah, the well came with us through the whole 40 years in the desert. Helped us become 5 million people. אחר כך קרא חכם מחכמי יהודים ושאל אותו אמונתו. Okay? Now he says, he calls in the Jew, tell me about your faith. First, tell me your understanding. Then we'll talk about the actions. The rabbi comes in. Amar a chaver. The rabbi is called a chaver, a friend. A true rabbi, a true someone is a friend. You got to remember he's a friend that you look up to, but he's a friend. Okay, tell me your belief. Anachnu ma'aminim be'Elohei Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov. We believe in the God Abraham, Isaac, and Yisrael, and Israel. Hamotzi et bnei Yisrael mitzrayim, who took them out of Egypt. Be'otot umoftim u'masot, with miracles and wonders. Umechalkelem midbar, and fed them and took care of them in the desert. Fed them in the desert for 40 years. Umanchilam et eretz Canaan, and he brought them into the land of Canaan. Achar asher hiviram et hayarden, after he crossed them through the Jordan River, the Dead Sea, and the miracle of the splitting of the Jordan River, with great wonders. V'shalach Moshe b'torato, ve'achar kach, and then after Moshe Rabbeinu, he sent thousands of prophets that warn us to keep the Torah and tell us about the great reward that we're going to get if we keep it, and a great punishment if we go against it. And we believe in everything that's written in the Torah, and it's very long to explain. Okay, so let's just go over this a minute. Because this piece we just read right now, the whole book is going to explain this piece. But I want to read to you after we'll go into in depth in a minute, I just want to read to you what the king said when he heard this. What did the king say? Amar Kuzari, now I understand why I didn't ask the Jews. You've lost your mind. This is your answer. I asked you about the creator of the world, that God gave the people, and what do you tell me? Stories about your grandfather and your grandmother. I'm asking about the creator of the world. I'm asking about the universal God and how it applies to me. And what do you tell me? God applies only at a certain specific time of history to a certain specific group of people. You guys have lost your mind. The Jewish people have nothing. You have nothing. I see you guys you're suffering and everything you've gone through. There's nothing left of you. Because you became so nothing, full of zero. Shiflut v'dalut, disgraced and weak, and that's it. You have nothing good left. You were left with nothing good. What you should have said to me, he says to the rabbi, should have said, I believe in the creator of the world, who guides the world and leads the world. And he created me, and he created you, and he gives me food, and he gives us sustenance, and he takes care of us. These are the stories. This is what any religion is based on. That there's a God, and you try to connect to the God. You try to emulate God's actions, and God is giving, so you're giving, and all these things. And that's why I want to be honest, and I want to be good, and I want to be like the Creator, because he's honest, and he's good, and he's righteous, and he's full of wisdom. This is what you answer. You tell me a story about your grandfather, and wait. What did your grandfather do that God chose him? Nothing. The Torah doesn't say one word about Avram Avinu. That anything he did. God spoke. God spoke to Avram and said, Lech lecha, go. Why? Because God chose him. What about your actions make you who you are, and your effort? And no. Here God just chose some person with nothing to do with his effort or his actions. course, we know Avram Avinu's, but that's not what happened. So look, let's go back now let's go back to the first piece. I don't understand. The Torah starts off saying, why didn't he start off with saying, like the Christian, the Muslim, we believe that God created the world, and God is not a physical being, and God, when we all come from Adam, God created Adam and Noach, and everything happened. Where's that? Everything's gone. Where does he start talking? Lech lecha. I can't accept this. Where's your universal religion? Where's your... So first let's go back and see what it says here, because there's a lot of things that are not clear. But this is the basis of the whole entire book. We'll go explain this. So first question, we asked, why didn't he start off telling us about God created the world? Second question, look at the order here. God, we believe in Avraham, Yitzchak, and Israel, took us out of Egypt, brought them to the land of Israel, and then sent Moshe Rabbeinu to give them the Torah. Sorry, Rabbi, do you not know the history? Did you mix up the history? What happened? God took us out of Egypt, brought us to Israel, and gave us Moshe Rabbeinu to give us the Torah? How did it really happen? What's the order? God took us out of Egypt, gave us the Torah, sent Moshe Rabbeinu, and then brought us to the land of Israel. So why is the order mixed up? Okay? Strange, no? You're talking about a great rabbi, and he's coming to explain about Judaism, and he's not even telling us the story as it happened? So we have here some big questions. So just to give a quick answer. So we believe, what do we say in the morning? In the prayer before we learn Torah, we say, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Like we said before, God chose us, and then he gave us the Torah. So there's two things. There's called Sgulat Yisrael. There's this chosen people. And you need to first understand that. Once you understand that, then you can go to Natan gave us the Torah. The whole first part of the book here is going to take a long time to explain this, to be able to understand this concept of God choosing the Jewish people is very difficult. It takes a lot of introductions. It takes a lot of deep understanding. It takes a lot of understanding. It's not something where it's not a ping pong back and forth, oh, you say this, I say that. No, you have to listen to, you have to be built up. There's a foundation that needs to be built. On that foundation, you can understand the next thing. And the next thing, it's not easy, it's not simple to understand. And therefore, and if you look in the Torah, so it says the rabbi, when God spoke to us, what did he say? I am God who took you out of Egypt. Wouldn't you expect God would say, hi, I'm the creator of the world? So God, when he spoke to us, I took you out of Egypt. When Moses came to Paro, he didn't say, the creator of the world sent me. He said, Elohei Ivrim, the God of the Jewish people sent me. Of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Israel. So I'm just going in that way. Everything we know about the Torah is because Moses got the Torah and told us that God created the world. And then God created the world, and then so everything starts from Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We only know what God wants us to know. The only connection that we have, the only way to connect to God, the only way to understand God is through what God chooses to reveal to you. If God chooses to reveal to you that He chose Avram and Yaakov, and that I think we have to end, right? And we'll go on. So next week we'll continue this idea, and we'll continue going from here. But I think we have to end now, right? Yes? Yeah? Thank you, everybody. And Chag Sameach.